Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Need it closer to the camera. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Slow. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Everybody together. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Ram Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare
कृष्ण कीर्तन गान नर्तन परा प्रेमामृतांबो निधि कृष्ण
कीर्तन गान नर्तन परो प्रेमामृत।
कृष्ण कीर्तन गान नर्तन परो प्रेमामृताम्बो निधि।
कृष्ण कीर्तन गान नर्तन परो प्रेमामृत।
धीरा धीर जना प्रिय प्रिय करो निर्मत्सरो पूजितो।
धीरा धीर जना प्रिय प्रिय करो।
श्री चैतन्य कृपा भरो भुवि भुवो भारावहन्तारको।
मेरा भाई
वन्दे रूप सनातन रघुयुगो श्रीजीव गोपाल को।
वन्दे रूप सनातन प्रिय करो श्री जीव गोपाल को।
वन्दे रूप सनातन रघुयुगो श्रीजीव गोपाल को।
वन्दे रूप सनातन रघुयुगो श्री जीव गोपाल को।
नाना शास्त्र विचारणैक निपुणो सधर्म संस्थापको।
नाना शास्त्र विचारणैक निपुणो सद्धर्म संस्थापको।
लोकानां हितकारिणो त्रिभुवने मन्यौ शरण्याकरो।
लोकानां हितकारिणो त्रिभुवने मन्यो शरण्याकरो।
राधा कृष्ण पदारविन्द भजना नन्देन मत्तालिको।
राधा कृष्ण पदारविन्द भजना नन्देन मत्तालिको।
वन्दे रूप सनातनो रघुयुगो श्रीजीव गोपाल को।
वन्दे रूप सनातन रघुयुगो श्रीजीव गोपाल को।
श्री गौरंग गुणानुवर्णन विधौ श्रद्धा समृद्ध्यन्वितौ।
श्री गौरांग गुणानुवर्णन विधौ श्रद्धा समृद्ध्यान्वितो।
पापोताप निकृन्तनौ तनुभृता गोविंद गानामृतये।
पापोत्पाप निकृन्तनौ तनुभृता गोविन्द गानामृते
आनन्दाम्बुधिवर्धनैकनिपुणो कैवल्यनिस्तारको
आनन्दाम्बुधिवर्धनैकनिपुणो कैवल्यनिस्तारको
वन्दे रूपसनातनो रघुयुगो श्रीजीवगोपालको
वन्दे रूपसनातन रघुयुगो श्रीजीवगोपालको
त्यक्त्वा तूर्णमशेषमण्डलपति श्रेणिं सदा तुच्छव
त्यक्त्वा तूर्णमशेषमण्डलपति
भूत्वा दीनगणेशको करुणया कौपीनकण्ठाश्रितो
भूत्वा दीनगणेशको करुणया कौपीनकण्ठाश्रितो
गोपी भावरसामृताब्धिलहरी कल्लोलमग्नौ मुहो
गोपी भावरसामृताब्धिलहरी कल्लोलमग्नौ मुहुः
वन्दे रूपसनातनो रघुयुगो श्रीजीवगोपालको
वन्दे रूपसनातनो रघुयुगो श्रीजीवगोपालको
कूजत् कोकिलहंससारसगणा कीर्णे मयूराकुले
कूजत् कोकिलहंससारसगणा कीर्णे मयूराकुले
नानारत्ननिबद्धमूलवितप श्रीयुक्तवृन्दावने
नानारत्ननिबद्धमूलविटपा श्रीयुक्तवृन्दावने
राधा कृष्णमहर्निशं प्रभजतो जीवार्थदौ मुदा
राधा कृष्णमहर्निशं प्रभजतो जीवार्थदौ मुदा
वन्दे रूपसनातनो रघुयुगो श्रीजीवगोपालको
वन्दे रूपसनातन रघुयुगो श्रीजीवगोपालको
संख्यापूर्वक नामगाननतिभिः कालावसानीकृतो
संख्यापूर्वक नामगाननतिभिः कालावसानीकृतो
निद्राहार विहार कादि विजितो चात्यंत दीनौ चयो
निद्राहार विहार कादि विजितो चातंत्य दीनौ चयो
राधा कृष्ण गुण स्मृतिर्मधुरिमा नंदेन सम्मोहितो
राधा कृष्ण गुणा स्मृतिर्मधुरिमा नंदेन सम्मोहितो
वंदे रूप सनातनौ रघुयुगो श्रीजीव गोपालको
वंदे रूप सनातन रघुयुगो श्रीजीव गोपालको
राधा कुंड तटे कलिंद तनया तीरे च वंशी वटे
राधा कुंड तटे कालिंदी तनया तीरे च वंशी वटे
प्रेमोन्मादवशादशेष दशया ग्रस्तौ प्रमत्तौ सदा
प्रेमोन्मादवसादशेष दशया ग्रस्तौ प्रमत्तौ सदा
गायन्तौ च कदा हरे गुणवरं भावाभिभूतौ मुदा
गायन्तौ च कदा हरेर्गुणवरं भावाविभूतौ मुदा
वन्दे रूप सनातनौ रघुयुगो श्रीजीव गोपालको
वन्दे रूप सनातन रघुयुगो श्रीजीव गोपालको
हे राधे व्रज देवी के चललिते हे नंद सोनो कुता
हे राधे व्रज देवी के चललिते हे नंद सोनो कुता
श्री गोवर्धन कल्प पाद पतले कालिंदी वने कुता
श्री गोवर्धन कल्प पाद पतले कालिंदी वने कुता
गोशन्ताविति सर्वतो व्रजपुरे खेदैर्महावेवलो
घोषन्ताविति सर्वतो व्रजपुरे खेदैर्महाविल्वलो
वन्दे रूप सनातनौ रघुयुगो श्रीजीव गोपालको
वन्दे रूप सनातनौ रघुयुगो श्रीजीव गोपालको
वन्दे रूप सनातनौ रघुयुगो श्रीजीव गोपालको
वन्दे रूप सनातन रघुयुगो श्रीजीव गोपाल को
वन्दे रूप सनातन रघुयुगो श्रीजीव गोपाल को
वन्दे रूप सनातन रघुयुगो श्रीजीव गोपाल को
वन्दे रूप सनातन रघुयुगो श्रीजीव गोपाल को हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम हरे राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम हरे राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada,
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada.
Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Gurudev,
Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gurudev.
Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol.
Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol.
Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtana ki jai.
Hare Krishna. So please come forward. 4:30 is Brahmachari Prasadam time. So in 15-20 minutes, many will come now. So we are very honored to have with us His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj. And this is the most auspicious location of Shri Shri Radha Damodar Mandir, Rupa Goswami, Srila Rupa Goswami Samadhi and Bhajan Kutir, where Srila Prabhupada also gave his lecture series. And as all of us know, that Giriraj Maharaj has written a beautiful book on the temple development at Juhu, which was such a challenge. And I tell a lot of my devotee friends that I consider this book to be the actual leadership manual for ISKCON leaders across the world. And the lessons which have been drawn from these pastimes have been incredible. And I spent several months reading the book, underlining and taking notes. So I really consider it a great benediction for all the ISKCON devotees that this history has been recorded so immaculately and so diligently with all the names of all the characters. In fact, I was telling Maharaj in Carpentaria that, many of our devotees in the temples in India, in Mumbai, have been dealing with the BMC, Bombay Municipal Corporation. But being from Chicago, he seems to know more about BMC than we know. In just that 3 years, when he was there with Srila Prabhupada in Mumbai. So we feel very honored that you're here, Maharaj, and His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj also preponed his trip so that he could spend more time, but he's feeling a little sick. So we would like to express our heartfelt gratitude to His Holiness Giriraj Maharaj for coming here and sharing his wisdom with all of us. I request Sanat Kumar Prabhu to offer garland to Giriraj Maharaj, and let us express our gratitude by loudly chanting Haribo, Haribo, Haribo. And we also welcome all the other devotees who have come from different places, from Surat, from Juhu, and Swarup Damodar Prabhu from South Africa, Bhakti Brihad Bhagwat Maharaj, who's a global traveler, and all the other devotees. Haribo.
Pune, Amritsar.
Pune and Amritsar, wow. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I will begin by singing the Mangalacharna prayers and leading a short kirtan. And then we will read a verse and purport from Srimad Bhagavatam that supports the core values of the Govardhan eco-village. Bandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatam Vitam Stam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sabadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitangscha Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin iti namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva. Jayam Vishnupad Paramhansa Prajakacharya Stotra Sri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayom Vishnupad Paramahansa Prajakacharya Stotra Sita Sri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai, Anantakoti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Navadvip Dham Ki Jai, Jamuna Mai Ki Jai, Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Before reading today's verse and purport from Srimad Bhagavatam, I will read to you the 6 core values of Govardhan Eco-Village. I have chosen a verse and purport which support these 6 values. Respect. Cultivating and exercising the humility to honor a devotee, even when there are differences in perspectives and opinions. Quality. Creating a culture of excellence by providing consistent experiences which fully satisfy the guests, pilgrims, and community members. Love. Inspiring unmotivated and uninterrupted love for Krishna by serving and caring for one another with compassion and sensitivity, while selflessly accommodating others' shortcomings for the pleasure of our gurus. Responsibility. Making a commitment to and being accountable for one's service and persevering to achieve the desired goals. Maturity. Balancing the courage and enthusiasm to take up goals with sensitivity towards people involved. Empowerment. Entrusting devotees with opportunities, appropriate independence, and resources to execute their services happily and proficiently. Jai. So when I read this verse and purport, you'll see how many of the values that are core to the Govardhan Eco-Village are supported by this verse and purport. Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We read from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 5, Prahlad, the saintly son of Hiranyakashipu. Text 12. Please repeat. Sa Yada Anuvrata Pumsam Pashubudhi Vibidyate Anya Esha Tata Anya Aham Iti Veda Gata Asati Sayadanurvrata Pumsam Pashubirdir Vibidyate Anya Esha Tatanyoham Iti Veda Gatasati Sayadanurvrata Pumsam Pashubudir Vibidyate Anya Esha Tatanyoham Iti Veda Gatasati. Sa, that Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yada, when. Anuvrata, favorable or pleased. Pumsam, of the conditioned souls. Pashubudhi, the animalistic conception of life. I am the Supreme and everyone is God. Vibidyate is destroyed. Anya, another. Esha, this. Tata, as well as. Anya, another. Aham, I. Iti, thus. Veda, distinction. Gata, having. Asati, which is disastrous. Translation. When the Supreme Personality of Godhead is pleased with the living entity because of his devotional service, one becomes a pundit and does not make distinctions between enemies, friends, and himself. Intelligently, he then thinks, every one of us is an eternal servant of God, and therefore we are not different from one another. Please repeat. When the Supreme Personality of Godhead is pleased with the living entity because of his devotional service, one becomes a pundit and does not make distinctions between enemies, friends, and himself. Intelligently, he then thinks, every one of us is an eternal servant of God. And therefore, we are not different from one another. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. When Prahlad Maharaj's teachers and a maniac father asked him how his intelligence had been polluted, Prahlad Maharaj said, "As far as I am concerned, my intelligence has not been polluted. Rather, by the grace of my spiritual master and by the grace of my Lord, Krishna, I have now learned that no one is my enemy and no one is my friend. We are all actually eternal servants of Krishna. But under the influence of the external energy, we think that we are separately situated from the Supreme Lord as friends and enemies of one another. This mistaken idea has now been corrected, and therefore, unlike ordinary human beings, I no longer think that I am God and that others are my friends and enemies." So, there's much more to the purport, but I'll just pause here to comment. We may not have the conception that I am God in an overt or explicit way, but generally our underlying psychology is like that. As my dear God Brother Burijan Prabhu says, it's as if everyone wants to clear his throat and say, "Excuse me, I have a very important announcement to make. I am the center of the universe, and everyone should cooperate with me." He says that most people envision life as a movie or a drama in which he or she is the hero or heroine and everyone else is the supporting cast. So you can imagine the conflict that will arise, because I'm thinking, I'm the hero, you're supposed to support me, and you're thinking, no, I'm the hero and you're supposed to support me. So this mentality is referred to here in the purport. And yes, so if someone cooperates and supports us, we think they're our friends, and if someone doesn't, we think they're our enemies. We are all actually eternal servants of Krishna. But under the influence of the external energy, we think that we are separately situated from the Supreme Personality of Godhead as friends and enemies of one another. This mistaken idea has now been corrected, and therefore, unlike ordinary human beings, I no longer think that I am God and that others are my friends and enemies. Now I am rightly thinking that everyone is an eternal servant of God, and that our duty is to serve the Supreme Master. For then we shall stand on the platform of oneness as servants. Demons think of everyone as a friend or enemy. But Vaishnavas say that since everyone is a servant of the Lord, everyone is on the same platform. Therefore, a Vaishnav treats other living entities neither as friends nor as enemies, but instead tries to spread Krishna consciousness, teaching everyone that we are all one as servants of the Supreme Lord, but are uselessly wasting our valuable lives by creating nations, communities, and other groups of friends and enemies. As Srila Prabhupada said, we want brotherhood. Everyone proclaims that we need universal brotherhood. But as Srila Prabhupada says, we cannot be brothers unless we have the same father. So universal brotherhood begins by accepting the common fatherhood of the Supreme Father, Krishna. Everyone should come to the platform of Krishna consciousness and thus feel oneness as a servant of the Lord. Although there are 8,400,000 species of life, a Vaishnava feels this oneness. The Ishopanishad advises ekatvam anupashyataha. The devotee should see the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be situated in everyone's heart, and should also see every living entity as an eternal servant of the Lord. This vision is called ekatvam, oneness. Although there is a relationship of master and servant, both master and servant are one because of their spiritual identity. This is also ekatvam. So Srila Prabhupada explains the sublime philosophy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu of Achintya Bheda Ved Tattva, inconceivable, simultaneous oneness and difference. The living entities and the Supreme Lord are one in quality because they are spiritual, but different in quantity because the Lord is infinite and the living entities are, as Prabhupada pronounced it, infinitesimal, or as we would say, infinitesimal. So because we are one in quality, we can have a relationship, and because we are different in quantity, the relationship is defined as one of master and servant. This is also ekatvam. Thus, the conception of ekatvam for the Vaishnava is different from that of the Mayavadi. We don't need to discuss that. We know that. Hiranyakashipu asked Prahlad Maharaj how he had become antagonistic to his family. When a family member is killed by an enemy, all the members of the family would naturally be inimical to the murderer. But Hiranyakashipu saw that Prahlad had become friendly with the murderer. So the history is that Hiranyakashipu had a brother named Hiranyaksha, who was killed by Vishnu in the form of Varahadev. So Hiranyaksha was Prahlad's uncle, And Hiranyakasipu was thinking that Vishnu killed my brother, killed your uncle. So you should be inimical toward him. But instead, you are friendly with him. You are friendly with the murderer of my brother and your uncle. How is that? When a family member is killed by an enemy, all the members of the family would naturally be inimical to the murderer. But Hiranyakashipu saw that Prahlad had become friendly with the murderer. Therefore he asked, "Who has created this kind of intelligence in you? Have you developed this consciousness by yourself? Since you are a small boy, someone must have induced you to think this way." Prahlad Maharaj wanted to reply that an attitude favorable toward Vishnu can develop only when the Lord is favorable. Sa Yadanuvrita. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is the friend of everyone. Suridam sarvabhutanam yadvamam shantim richati. As this refers to the last verse of the 5th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, text 29. And Srila Prabhupada refers to this verse as the peace formula. Sri Krishna says, Bhoktaram yagya tapasam, that he is the proprietor of all the planetary systems. He is the beneficiary of the results of all austerities. Bhoktaram, sacrifices and austerities. Bhoktaram yagya tapasam. Sarvaloka Maheshwaram, and he is the proprietor of all the planetary systems. Yadvamam Shantam Richati, one who understands these facts attains peace from the pangs of material existence. So, part of the formula is Suridam Sarva Bhutanam. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is the friend of everyone. Suridam Sarva Bhutanam Yadvamam Shantam Richati. The Lord is never an enemy to any of the millions of living entities, but is always a friend to everyone. This is true understanding. If one thinks that the Lord is an enemy, his intelligence is pashubuddhi, the intelligence of an animal. He falsely thinks, I am different from my enemy, and my enemy is different from me. The enemy has done this, and therefore my duty is to kill him. That was Hiranyakashipu's mentality. This misconception is described in this verse as Beda Gatasati, disastrous. The actual fact is that everyone is a servant of the Lord, as confirmed in Chaitanya Charitamrita by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Who knows the verse? You know the verse. Jiver Swarupai Krishnara Nityadas. As servants of the Lord, we are one, and there can be no questions of enmity or friendship. If one actually understands that every one of us is a servant of the Lord, where is the question of enemy or friend? Now we come to the last paragraph. It's very important. Everyone should be friendly for the service of the Lord. I'll repeat. Everyone should be friendly for the service of the Lord. Everyone should praise another's service to the Lord and not be proud of his own service. This is the way of Vaishnav thinking, Vaikuntha thinking. There may be rivalries and apparent competition between servants in performing service, but in the Vaikuntha planets, the service of another servant is appreciated, not condemned. This is Vaikuntha competition. So, sometimes Srila Prabhupada also encouraged competition in book distribution, for example. But he explained the difference between transcendental competition and mundane competition. In transcendental competition, one acknowledges the good qualities or the good service of the other person, but still one wants to excel the other person to give more pleasure to Guru and Krishna. Well, that is transcendental competition. But in mundane competition, there's envy, and one does not recognize the good qualities or the good service of the other person. And one tries to make oneself bigger or better by making the other person smaller or lesser. So that mentality should be avoided, for sure. But the other mentality, in which one recognizes the good qualities and service of the other person but still wants to excel it, that is welcome. There may be rivalries and apparent competition between servants in performing service. But in the Vaikuntha planets, the service of another servant is appreciated, not condemned. This is Vaikuntha competition. There is no question of enmity between servants. Everyone should be allowed to render service to the Lord to the best of his ability. This is part of empowerment. Everyone should be allowed to render service to the Lord to the best of his ability, and everyone should appreciate the service of others. Such are the activities of Vaikuntha. Since everyone is a servant, everyone is on the same platform and is allowed to serve the Lord according to his ability. As confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 15:15, Sarvasya chaham ridisani vishto matasmitir jnanam apohanam cha. The Lord is situated in everyone's heart, giving dictation according to the attitude of the servant. So we all have individual natures and ways of wanting to serve the Lord, and the Lord within the heart gives us the intelligence how to serve him in accordance with our desire and will. Here I think of the principle of unity in diversity we are one because we are all servants of Krishna, or in the case of ISKCON, of Srila Prabhupada. But we are different because we're individuals. And this concept of unity and diversity is so important that Srila Prabhupada said that the GBC in their annual meetings should discuss how the principle of unity and diversity can be applied in ISKCON. So that's very important, unity and diversity. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 15:15, Sarvasya chaham ridi sanivisto matasmitir gyanam apohanam cha. The Lord is situated in everyone's heart, giving dictation according to the attitude of the servant. However, the Lord gives different dictation to the non-devotees and devotees. The non-devotees challenge the authority of the Supreme Lord, and therefore the Lord dictates in such a way that the non-devotees forget the Lord's service, life after life, and are punished by the laws of nature. But when a devotee very sincerely wants to render service to the Lord dictates in a different way. As the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 10:10, Te sham satata yuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yenamam upayanti te. To those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. End quote. Everyone is actually a servant, not an enemy or friend, and everyone is working under different directions from the Lord, who directs each living entity according to his mentality. So the Lord dictates to different devotees in different ways to enable them to serve him according to their particular natures or desires. And that is our individuality, but the goal is the same, which is to serve the Lord and please the Lord. Sometimes Srila Prabhupada gave the example of political parties, that they may have different policies, but this is sort of an idealized version of what a political party is, but they have different programs or platforms on which they stand, but ultimately the goal is the same, which is to serve the nation, to do what's best for the nation. So the conclusion is that we should all cooperate. Everyone should be friendly for the service of the Lord. Everyone should appreciate the service of other devotees and not be proud of his own service. And in this way we can be our relationships with one another can be very harmonious, and we will have such a nice society that people want to join and become one of us. It will be such a nice family atmosphere that people will want to become part of this family under Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Srila Prabhupada and their devotees. And in addition to the philosophical understanding that we should have in order to conduct ourselves properly, we also undertake the process of cleansing the heart, Cheto Darpano Marjanam, by chanting the holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, yeah, as Srila Prabhupada said in one lecture in Los Angeles, if you've got time, chant Hare Krishna. Don't speak nonsense. Chant Hare Krishna. So, my dear devotees, thank you for listening so patiently and attentively. Now, if any of you want to ask any questions or share any reflections, you can raise your hand. We have a traveling microphone. There was one over here.
I have a question. Can you adjust that microphone there? Closer to Maharaj. You mentioned unity and diversity, and I also heard you say another place, unity and variety. Is there a difference or variegatedness?
It sounds like the same idea, although the usual phrasing is unity and diversity, but it sounds like the same idea, yeah. It's another example of diversity. All right, so what is next? Oh, sorry.
Raj, this principle of wanting to, or ideal principle of appreciating others and recognizing, appreciating, and then looking at oneself, introspecting or whatever. This is easier said than done. How do we sometimes we think that, yeah, I guess I've reached that platform. I'm not so disturbed when I see my god brothers or somebody else perform exceedingly well. But when it tends to happen at a very distant place and I'm not related, something happens in America or different parts of the world. But when it happens in my temple, in the community where I live, someone whom I'm seeing day in and day out, and he does exceedingly better than me, then I have this bitter truth that I've not gone too far in this accept. So when it happens within a community, within a family, within a place, it tends to affect us a lot more. How do we actually deal with it?
Well, once I heard a beautiful class at Mayapur some decades ago, in which the speaker was saying that if someone is higher than you, and if you try to push him up, like say you hold his feet and you try to push him up, then you go up. And if you try to pull him down, then you go down. So you don't really benefit in any way by minimizing the value of another person's service or being envious, but to the contrary, you suffer. And if you appreciate the other's service and glorify him, you'll benefit, and that will cleanse your heart of that envy. And we're here in the material world because of envy, ultimately envy of Krishna. So we need to get free from envy. And although I can say something interesting about envy, when I was with Srila Prabhupada in Surat, I was thinking about the question of envy, and I thought of so many reasons not to be envious. First of all, Krishna's service is unlimited, so there's unlimited opportunities for me to do service. So there's no point in my being envious of someone else because that person has some service. And I also thought that being envious is bad because it will adversely affect my relationships with the other devotees if I'm envious of them. But still, it was not going away. I perceived that it was not going away. So I approached Srila Prabhupada, and I brought up the question of envy. And first he said, can you think of any reasons why you should not be envious? And I'd already thought of many reasons, so I replied yes. Then he said, so being envious means you don't like someone. And that not liking should not be directed towards devotees, but it can be directed towards the non-devotees or the demons who are creating havoc for the devotees and the world. So that's another approach. If you have that feeling that you don't like someone, so direct that towards the demons, not towards the devotees.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Yes.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Regarding the last paragraph of the purport, which is really a wonderful purport, the point about competition transcendental competition between devotees, especially like book distribution, as you mentioned. I just wanted to find out. We had something like this sort of similar competition at the Durban Rath Yatra in our bookstore some years ago, and what we had was a raffle for Back to Goddess subscriptions, and the prize was a Chaitanya Charitamrita, and we had many people signing up, including devotees as well. It was quite a fierce competition to win the CC set. And but in retrospect, I think the authorities thought that maybe it sort of could be constituted as gambling, so to speak, because it was like you got to pick the winner from a box. And I just wanted your opinion on that, because sometimes as devotees we think of innovative ways of preaching, but sometimes we may not, it may be a bit far out, so to speak. And we just want some guidance on that.
So you're asking whether having a raffle is a type of gambling?
Yes, go on.
Well, it's not, it's gambling for the people who take part in the raffle. It's not gambling for the organizers, because they're going to come out ahead no matter what. I don't know. I don't think I would prefer having a raffle as part of a Krishna conscious event. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Guru Maharaj.
Yes, behind you.
Hare Krishna. Maharaj, once a devotee, we were talking about envy, and then the conversation went to the difference between envy and jealousy. And I wanted your opinion, if you could comment on the discussion that we were having led to the opinion that envy is when you see someone successful and you want to pull them down, whereas jealousy is you see someone successful and you would like what they have, but it doesn't become sour. Could you comment on that?
I think that's okay. Yeah, you're jealous because someone has something you want and don't have, but you're not against the person for having it, but you just wish you had it. Oh, that's okay. But envy is not good, of course. You envy them and you want to take away what they have or bring them down. Yeah, that's not good. Yeah, we should always, everyone should be friendly for the service of the Lord. One should appreciate the service of others and not be proud of one's own service. Yeah, that should be our motto. Yes?
In this Mumbai-Juhu episode, when all of you were trying to sincerely serve and follow these principles, and there was a lot of opposition, which you have mentioned beautifully in the book. Amongst all the different episodes which happened, which was that one particular episode which gave you the maximum anxiety or fear? Because, service brings all kinds of experiences. And how did you deal with that situation?
Well, what comes to mind is quite odd, because it was not fear of any of the enemies or the demons or the municipality or Nair or Matre, but it was fear of His Holiness Tamal Krishna Goswami. The history is that the temple had been demolished illegally from the Bombay Municipal Corporation came to Hare Krishna land, supported by a paddy wagon of the police. And they said, falsely, that your temple is illegal and we will demolish it. And I had renewed the permission for it. I ran and I brought the file and I showed them we had the permission renewed. But they were not at all interested. I think they were paid off. And they began to demolish the temple. And if any devotee came forward to try to stop them, and many of us did, we were apprehended by the police and thrown into the paddy wagon. And one great hero, Malati Devi Dasi, she's in England now. Yeah, she was a pretty big-bodied woman, and she just stood in front of the doors to the deity room. And because she was a woman, they were hesitant to touch her. But anyway, they dragged her away too. So there was one devotee who was not, I don't know if I should say, was not as courageous as we were, or not as foolhardy as we were. He was a Gujarati devotee named Manasvi. So while all this was happening, he was sort of hiding in the bushes watching it all happen. And then he put a phone call through to one of our friends who had relations with Bal Thackeray. And Bal Thackeray phoned the municipal commissioner, M.W. Dasi. And he said, this is happening. A Hindu temple is being demolished, and you have to stop it. And the commissioner said, falsely, that they don't have permission. And Bal Thackeray said, don't forget who owns this city. So then the commissioner said, all right, Balasab, all right. So then the commissioner phoned the ward officer, the K-ward officer, and he came personally running to the spot to stop the demolition. And, anyway. So then, it came to the point to rebuild the temple. And first, we were trying to get permission to rebuild it, but then we realized we don't need to get permission to rebuild it. We already have permission for the structure. So we had to, so Mrs. Nair, on Friday, she got wind of the fact that we were going to rebuild the temple. So she went to the High Court and appealed to Justice Nine, who at some stage was a chief guest at one of our Pandal programs, and asked him to grant an injunction preventing us from rebuilding the temple. And he said, no, I won't grant any injunction without hearing the other side. And she said, well, just grant a temporary injunction. He said, no, I will not grant any injunction without hearing the other side. So we knew we had until Monday to rebuild the temple. And one of the heroes, Mr. P.L. Sethi, came, and he was a builder. He got some construction materials and some laborers. And it was raining very heavily, but, he was intent on rebuilding the temple. And Satsvarupa, who was my first temple president in Boston and who I really appreciated and admired and respected, he had just passed through Bombay, and so somehow I said to Tamal Krishna Goswami, he was there, sort of overseeing it. Somehow I said to him that, I really appreciate Satsvarupa, he's so humble. And he looked at me and he said, your humility will be to stay up all night and make sure that this temple gets rebuilt. And I thought about it, and I had to agree. Where was the humility if I wasn't ready to do the needful for the service of Srila Prabhupada and Radharasa Bihari? And meanwhile, Sridhar Swami, our dear late godbrother Sridhar Swami, was sitting nearby in one of our jeeps. We had a few jeeps. And so maybe Mr. Sethi's son, Brij Mohan Sethi, asked him what he's doing there. And Sridhar Swami joked, well, if there's any trouble, I want to make sure I can make a quick escape. But actually he was not like that. He was very staunch. So, yeah, that was the story of how I was afraid of Tamal Krishna Goswami. But meanwhile, Matre came. He was the local municipal corporator, and he was in cahoots with Nair. And he said, you can rebuild the temple, but I'm going to come with 50 gundas and tear it down. then Mr. Seti said to his son Brij Mohan, how many, he said, bring my, I think, rifle and revolver. And then he said, how many cartridges do I have? He used the word cartouche. How many cartouche do I have? And Brij Mohan said 250. So Mr. Seti told Nair, 50 gundas are not enough. I'll kill them all. You have to bring at least 251, because I have 251 bullets. So, yeah, so it was rebuilt. And then the next morning, we went in the court, and we said the temple's been rebuilt. And the judge said, you know, what's there is there. You know, it can't be taken down. Now you have to fight it out in the court. So yeah, that was exciting. Any other questions or comments? Yes. Need a microphone back. Oh.
I was thinking this idea that we feel bad in any way, that or not so happy if somebody else is successful. It could be that if the same thing was happening with my own brother, let's say, who I really treat like my brother, then I probably would not be feeling that, because I see very closely that here is my father, this person is also mine in that sense. So what he is getting as success is same as me getting, because he is mine and I'm his. So is this, if the reason that I'm feeling not so happy, if not feeling bad, but at least not feeling happy, is because I just not got that realization in my own heart for anybody, because that's what the purport is saying. Basically, everybody is a brother.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thought. It's a beautiful thought. If we see everyone as our brother, as our near and dear relative, and if they're successful, we'll feel happy. They're part of the family, a close member. Yeah, that's wonderful.
So we have to try to cultivate that, I guess.
Yeah.
In some way.
So two more. There was a lady at the back, and then Pranath.
Is it working now?
Yeah, now it's
Okay. Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. I think I was saying it wrong the other two times, that's why it wasn't working. So gender has been like a really intrinsic part of the way I have, just grown up, because we're three sisters and a brother. So when we were talking about this topic of envy, one thing I've been very envious of is just anybody, especially devotees, in the male body, because they get to do certain services that as women we cannot do. So, yeah, but in the story that you were just narrating, Mother Malati actually was one of the heroes of the story, because being in a woman's body actually helped her protect the deities. She saved the day in so many ways. So it really helped me, and I was able to connect the dots that being in a woman's body actually in so many ways is a blessing in disguise.
Yes.
So I just wanted to share that.
Yeah, wonderful. Beautiful.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. I remembered Yamuna Mataji when she said about male, female or male body. She did human service for Prabhupada. My realization was about Tamal Krishna Maharaj meeting you for the first time. I recollected that you were doing some service and there was an interaction between you and him for the first time. I wanted to recollect that incident with you.
Oh, what do you remember of it?
You were doing some service and Maharaj happened to come and instruct you that this is not the way you should do things, and you continued, and then he went back to Srila Prabhupada about the same, and Srila Prabhupada said Giriraj will be just listening to whatever I say, he will not budge in, like whatever I have instructed. That's my vague remembrance of that incident.
Well, it sounds like you might be talking about in Juhu, Tamal Krishna Goswami was the GBC and I was the temple president, and he thought I wasn't a good manager, and so he tried bringing different devotees who he thought were better managers, but they all left after some time. And then Tamal Krishna Goswami approached Srila Prabhupada and said, now I understand why I've kept Giriraj as the temple president, because whatever happens, he will never leave. And Srila Prabhupada said, yes, you have understood.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
I understood that we should have the goat mentality instead of the frog mentality. Is it right?
The what mentality?
The goat mentality instead of the frog mentality.
Could you elucidate what is the goat mentality and what is the frog mentality?
Yeah, the frog, one frog tries to come out of the well, the other frog pull their leg. And the goat mentality is, the goat allows the other goat to stand on the goat and eat the higher grass, and they help support each other.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah. Yeah, we should. We should. That reminds me, there was a joke that, there is a competition of selling frogs. So one entrepreneur, his quote was much less than all the others, because his quote was for boxes without a top on them. So the potential customer asked, how can you put them in a box without a top on it? And he replied, but this has a context. I mean, no one should take it personally, but he replied, these are Bihari frogs. So if one starts to jump up, the others will pull him down. So we don't need to put a lid on the box. Anyway, I hope I didn't say anything wrong. Yeah, I thought you were going to say bees and flies, which was the example Srila Prabhupada often used, that the bees look for the honey and the flies look for the sores. So we should be like bees and not like flies. Any other questions or comments?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavat Pranam. Maharaj, listening to the lecture, I realized that if somebody is doing better than you, there's always an opportunity for you to learn from them and appreciate them for sure. And if you are doing better than somebody else, then it's an opportunity for you to teach them and, make them better.
Yeah, beautiful. Exactly. Yeah, if someone's doing better, you can learn from them, so you can improve. And if you're doing better, you can also teach others, so they can also improve and do better.
And another thing, Maharaj, that I wanted to share was that, whenever I see you with your God brothers and sisters, there's so much love and affection for each other that you all have. What is that secret mantra that Srila Prabhupada has taught you all?
Well, we love Srila Prabhupada, and we see one another as servants of Srila Prabhupada, devotees of Srila Prabhupada, representatives of Srila Prabhupada. So, yeah, it's wonderful to have the association of God brothers. And, as time passes, there will be fewer of us, so we definitely want to take advantage and get the association and the opportunity to serve the ones who are with us now. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Hi. Yes, microphone.
Hare Krishna. So it says it takes a village to raise a child, and me and my son here, Giriraj, I've struggled to impart an important lesson to him. So I was hoping you could shed some light on this. When you're young, or even when you're older, there's this competitive spirit, like you're talking about, and so he very much likes to play to win, be it football or chess or anything. And we're trying to encourage him just to play for the sake of playing and have fun, but he wants to add points and competition to everything, like who eats first, who gets ready for everything is a competition. And so that could easily spill over into devotee relationships and service in due course of time. So could you please inspire him and us on how to be able to just accept having fun, and the competition is a secondary thing rather than the other way around.
Is he here?
He's here. He's hiding. You met him when he was 1 week old. Now he's big.
Can you give him the microphone? What do you think of what your father just said?
Yeah, I do have that type of competitive spirit because, yeah, I find it fun just playing games. I like to win. Yeah, I don't really watch to see people win, and yeah, I'm always hoping I win, and everything is about winning, kind of.
And how old are you?
7.
7? I wouldn't worry about it. I mean, as he ages and matures, he'll make whatever adjustment is necessary. I don't think it's something to worry about.
Okay.
Giriraj, do you think your father should worry that you'll carry that competitive spirit of wanting to win into your relationships with devotees?
No.
Okay. All is well. Any other questions or comments?
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. So I understand that we should not be envious, but what we should do in a situation when someone else is envious of us, and like we might admire them and or want to have good relationship with them, but in this situation it may happen that they are getting envious or they are developing some negative feeling towards us. So should we like in a situation of service maybe, so should we step back from what we are doing and like not have this whole situation of negativity and rivalry like that, or should we just continue and let it be?
It would depend on whether you're needed for the service. If you're not needed and your presence is not appreciated, then you could leave it. But if you are needed, then you may have to continue and tolerate, maybe approach the person and make things better. In Juhu, we had a situation in which the head of the construction department didn't like my checking on the spending in the construction department. And I mentioned to Srila Prabhupada that my presence was not appreciated, and Srila Prabhupada said, yes, but your presence is required. So sometimes we have to do that for the sake of service. Yes?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. My question was something you already spoke about, that at one point of time you were asked to replace and remove move away from the position of being the president of the temple. So how did you felt during that time and dealt with that situation? Did you still acted confidently that my intentions are right and you stayed firm in what you wanted to do, or you acted with humility that okay, I'll take up whatever is being decided by everyone else? So because this situation is pretty common in the outside world when other people suggest something. So how did you
when other people what?
When other people suggest that you are not doing the right thing or you are not capable of doing that thing, so how did you acted in that situation?
Oh, well, I wasn't there because I thought I was capable or not capable. I was there because Srila Prabhupada wanted me there. And so I did my best. Speaking about Tamal Krishna Goswami and Srila Prabhupada reminds me of something else, not related except that it involved Tamal Krishna Goswami and Srila Prabhupada. So, anyway, I'll tell it because I started, so Srila Prabhupada had a friend named Dr. C.P. Patel who would walk with him on Juhu Beach every morning. And sometimes Dr. Patel would speak like a Mayavadi. And Srila Prabhupada would say, "You're a Mayavadi." And Dr. Patel would say, "No, sir, I'm a Vaishnava." I'm a pure Vaishnava. So one day, so Dr. Patel would bring up these different so-called holy people of India, and one day he brought up someone, and as usual, Srila Prabhupada would compare their philosophy to that of the Bhagavad Gita, and if they were not up to the standard, he would say so. So one day, when Dr. Patel brought up one of his revered saintly persons, Srila Prabhupada criticized him, and Dr. Patel became very angry, and he started to raise his voice with Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada raised his voice, and they were shouting at each other. And Dr. Patel had his cronies, his group of friends. But even they were saying, don't upset Swamiji, he has a heart condition. It's not good. But they were shouting at each other, and finally Dr. Patel's friends pulled him away. So afterwards, Tamal Krishna Goswami approached Srila Prabhupada in his quarters, and he asked him, what is Dr. Patel's position? I mean, is he a devotee or is he a Mayavadi? And Srila Prabhupada told the story of a man who could speak fluently in many languages. He was so fluent that nobody could determine where he was from originally, what was his mother tongue. So there was some discussion, and then one of the villagers said, I will find out. So one day when the man was not paying attention, that villager came up behind him and gave him a big whack. And then the man started to curse in his own language. And so his real language came out. So Srila Prabhupada said Dr. Patel was like that. He could speak in many languages, but when I gave him a slap where it really hurt, his real language came out. So then, for the first time in years, Dr. Patel didn't come to accompany Srila Prabhupada on the morning walk. And Srila Prabhupada said, okay, now no more discussion on the morning walk, we'll just read from Krishna book. But then after a few days, as Dr. Patel describes it, Prabhupada was walking on one side of the beach in one direction, and he was walking on the other side in the opposite direction. But something in his heart just like impelled him to go to Srila Prabhupada, and he went to Srila Prabhupada and sort of, not really bowed down, but sort of, put his hands down near Prabhupada's feet and said, Prabhupada, I'm sorry, but I've been taught to respect all the accredited saints of India. And Srila Prabhupada replied, yes, and my business is to say who is a saint and who is not. But anyway, they were reconciled, and after Srila Prabhupada left, Dr. Patel wrote a beautiful article about his association with Srila Prabhupada that was published in Back to Godhead. The title was "My Life's Most Precious Moments," and the subtitle was "Bombay Doctor wins the title Big Fool and loves it." Prabhupada would always say, he'd always quote Namam Dusrita Namudha, anyone who doesn't surrender to Krishna's a fool.
Hare Krishna, thank you very much for wonderful insights about Prabhupada mode. I just felt very inclined that you are very, very inclined with Srila Prabhupada Parpat, and you read again from the back, Prabhupada Parpat. It is really touched. And I have one request and one question. Question is that we several times we heard that Prabhupada was asking you that how ISKCON will run 10,000 years. So then you answered so many, but Prabhupada said no, ISKCON will run by the two things. One is oil management or intelligent. And I want to know about something details on that regard. And request is that please visit Bangladesh also, because all the Bangladeshi devotees actually don't get your association. Prabhupada also did not go in Bangladesh. So I am just requesting, and from higher authority also I can request you if you just make some. Yes, Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, thank you.
So regarding that incident, it's not that Srila Prabhupada said no, but it was like this. I was taking rest on the terrace of the Gurukul building, and in the middle of the night, a devotee woke me up and said that Srila Prabhupada wants to see me. So I went to Srila Prabhupada's room. This was 3 days before he departed. And he was lying on his bed and very weak. He could speak only with great difficulty. And he said, "So what do you think? Will this movement go on after I leave?" And I replied, if the devotees are sincere, and they chant their rounds and follow the regulative principles, it will go on. And then Srila Prabhupada's intelligence and organization. And I thought about it afterwards, that yes, for our own Krishna consciousness, we have to be sincere and chant our rounds and follow the regulative principles. But to spread Krishna consciousness, we need organization, intelligence and organization. And so that was the message I got from that exchange with Srila Prabhupada.
Thank you. Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Giriraj Swami Maharaj, for beautifully narrating this purport and Srila Prabhupada's mood and pastimes. And this is the first day in the series of nectar which is going to be flowing here at Radha Damodar Mandir, Srila Rupa Goswami Samadhi. Tomorrow again evening 3:30 to 4:30 we'll have kirtans, and then Maharaj's lecture here again from 4:30 onwards. Haribo! So also the book I'll Build You a Temple and other books of Maharaj have been kept in the courtyard of Radha Damodar temple. There is a light there, and Maharaj will be also sitting there. And for those who are interested to purchase a book, Maharaj will be happy to sign the books, and you can purchase those books. Whole variety of books are there, including I'll Build You a Temple and other books written by Maharaj. Tomorrow morning we'll be honored to hear at 8 a.m. at the Radha Vrindavan Bihari Temple the Srimad Bhagavatam class from His Holiness Bhakti Bruhat Bhagavat Swami Maharaj.
Haribo.
Hare Krishna. So see you again tomorrow morning 8 o'clock, and also in the evening with kirtans and further katha from Giriraj Swami Maharaj. Srila Giriraj Swami Maharaj ki Go Premanandi.
Thank you very much.